Thank you. Good evening, Wareham, and welcome to the April 16th, 2024 Select Board meeting. May I have a roll call, please, Mr. Chadwick?
Yes, tonight present is Miss Whiteside, myself, Jared Chadwick, and Mr. Slavin. Absent is Mr. Bessie, and I don't see Mr. Sullivan or Mr. Bowen.
Not yet, but I expect them. I do not expect Mr. Bessie. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. Chadwick.
I don't fall here. Pledge allegiance
is to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Announcements, Mr. Slavin. Oh, wait a second. Before we do that, I'm sorry. I'm going to ask for a moment of silence for Nancy Roth. Nancy died
Last week
on the 10th. She retired from the town of Wareham in 2023 after working for over 26 years for the town of Wareham. She was a very committed and conscientious employee. She was known for both her really, really great mind and a very soft heart. Her customer service skills were second to none. So I'd ask for a moment of silence, please.
And this was not expected at all. It was a very tough one.
Moment of silence.
You get it.
Thank you. Mr. Slavin, announcements.
Actually, I have a very simple couple of quick things. Mrs. Whiteside and I were present today at the COA fashion show. They do a great job. We have to compliment Sharon Rice and all the COA members. I would say there was at least 100 people at the event, maybe more. Somehow they talked to our police, male and females, to be part of the show, and I kept getting hit in the back of my head and said, "Alan, how'd you get away with it?" And I explained to them that I fell down, and therefore, if they'd like to duplicate what I did, they could get out of it too. I had an MPO meeting this afternoon, and again, I apologize about the Swift speech issue. I was still unable to, even though I lodged a personal complaint, that the project was being moved from 2024 to 2026, and which means fiscal year 26, which means it's basically July 1st of 2025 is when it would hopefully start. And that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Chadwick.
Thank you, dear.
I have none at this time.
Okay, I have a couple. We have, I want to remind everybody that our town meeting starts next Monday at 7 o'clock. I'd like to remind you all that it is at Wareham High School, not at the elementary school, Wareham High School. You'll see some signs on the whatever you call those things, the signs out front. And I think we're also going to have some yard signs to make sure that everybody goes to the right place. Look forward to seeing you there. I ran into somebody in Shaw's the other day who asked me a question, and I actually gave her the wrong answer. So I'm going to correct what I said. I was asked whether different beaches had beach nourishment, and she mentioned Hamilton Beach, Parkwood Beach, and one other, and I can't remember what the other one was. And I said that the town does not do beach nourishment. That is correct. The town does not do beach nourishment on town-owned beaches. The three that the lady mentioned actually are private beaches, and they had to go through the permitting through the Concom, and they paid for it. And the town is not in any position to pay for beach nourishment, and it would be, in my opinion, a waste of money. Witness what happened in Newburyport after they spent $600,000 to build a bunker that took 3 storms to get rid of it. I'm not sure that everybody is aware of the fact that, oh, I'm sorry, Alan, go ahead.
I think we have seagulls that take care of the nourishment anyways.
Not to mention nourishment, beach nourishment does massive damage to beaches around. Coming from Nantucket, I've been seeing it for years.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Actually, didn't Nantucket, well, we're way off base, but I think Nantucket actually lost one of their sewer
Yes.
Yes, they
substations.
did.
Yeah. Yep.
It's gonna be a fun meeting, guys.
Okay. I want to make sure that everybody is aware that WCTV does provide closed captioning on your TV screen. It's under CC on your remote thingy. I actually tried it the other day and it works. Previously they had it, but it wasn't working very well. So I urge all of you who may have friends or family who like to see the closed captioning, use it. And today we posted on the town website the latest list of vacancies, and there are, I think, 12 committees that have vacancies on them. And we're looking for, Cable Advisory, Community Preservation, Council on Aging, Finance Committee, Historic District, Historical Commission, Minot Forest, Open Space, Recycling, Road Commissioners, Veterans Council, Wareham Housing Authority, Wareham Redevelopment, and Zoning. Those, if you are interested in joining any one of those, the application is online. You just simply go onto the town website and look for volunteer locations. Okay. Mr. Bowen is here. Miss Noah, could you let him in, please? And I will, yes, Mr. Slavin.
I just remembered, I apologize. Margaret Ishihara, who was our moderator, myself, did 2 half-hour programs on the how, why, where, what of town meeting. It's on WCTV. I think, I'm not sure what the time frames when it runs, but it's extremely helpful for any of those people who are not familiar with town meeting, familiar with the procedures, how it works, etc. I had a great time doing it with Margaret.
Thank you. The record will show Mr. Bowen entered the meeting at 7:07, please. Thank you. Elise, would you raise your hand, please? Because as soon as I'm through with Mr. Well, actually, Elise, if you're ready to talk about item 7B, which is discussion and possible vote to agree to the proposed changes for the conservation restriction on the Marks Cove property and authorize the select board to sign the finalized document, we'd be happy to have you in the meeting right now so you can go back to putting your son to bed. Thanks. Would you identify yourself for the record, Elise, please? Thanks.
Hi, for the record, my name's Elise Leduc Fleming. I'm the Executive Director of the Wareham Land Trust.
Thank you. We did have a copy of the proposed changes, but if you want to just touch on them briefly, the select board each member got a copy of the changes, the proposed changes.
Great, thank you. So the changes that are before you tonight are essentially the changes being requested by the state. So the initial round that you all got to see a couple months ago was what basically the Wareham Land Trust and the Conservation Commission and the Select Board all agreed to locally. We then pushed it up to the state's CR review department. They got back to us with a handful of text edits, which were minor and or sort of legal in nature. And I think those were easy to just accept as is. They had a handful of comments in the permitted uses section to clarify what we were intending to do specifically with the cart path in the parking lot. I added a few additional edits on our part to respond to their questions. So you may have seen those. It does not at all change the intent or anything about what we were proposing or what we were hoping to be allowed or restricted at this conservation restriction. It's simply just clarifying the language to appease some of the legal team at the state. The only other difference, and this would be a difference from the version I sent you last week, Judith, to the one that I sent today, is I did add 2 exhibits that were sort of either missing or not up to date at the end, just to finalize the document completely. So that's a recorded version of the property plan and an actual copy of the attested vote from the town meeting that provided funding to purchase this. So really what we're looking for tonight, we're really just trying to keep the town in the loop. I'll be before the Conservation Commission tomorrow before we send this back to the state to say, yes, we're okay locally with all of the changes. Please go forward and do whatever we have to do to finalize this. Really just looking for the select board tonight to agree that all the changes that have been made by the state and the few additional ones by me are still to your approval, so we can continue with the review process with the state. There's nothing really to sign or finalize tonight, just keeping everybody on board as the changes happen.
Thank you. And you have reviewed it with Mr. Faraday, Josh Faraday. Is that correct?
We'll be with them tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. But he's already reviewed the document.
I imagine so, yes.
Okay. Mr. Slavin or Mr. Chadwick, questions?
I
None.
just have one question. Is the Board of Selectmen going to hold the conservation restriction, or is the Conservation Commission going to hold it?
It's the Conservation Commission.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? And hearing none, I will accept a motion.
I move to agree to the proposal changes of conservation restriction on Marks Cove property and authorize the select board to sign the finalized documents.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to agree to the changes and authorize the signing of the document. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
and myself, yes, it is so. Good night, Elise. Thank
All
you so
right,
much.
thank you for hearing us so quickly. Have
Oh,
a
no
great evening.
problem. Have a nice evening. Miss Quirk, if you are here, I'll hear you. If you would raise your hand, I see your name too. Okay. No, if you would let, it says Norma Scoggin, but that would be Sherry Quirk. We will go to 7A. Miss Quirk is here with a very quick update on the two articles that have been submitted to the special warrant by the Bylaw Review Committee. And that is a picture of Miss Scoggin. It is, however, we're going to have a voice from Miss Quirk, right?
Yeah, there we go.
There we are.
And
Could you
yes,
identify
here's my
yourself for the
picture
record,
now.
please?
Yes, my name is Sherry Quirk, and I'm the chair of the Bylaw Review Committee.
Would you give us a 2 or
Excuse me.
3 minutes summary of each of the two articles that you are proposing have submitted to the special town meeting warrant?
Yes, the Bylaw Review Committee has submitted two different provisions. One is numbered S8, and it has to do with providing our clerk with the authority to make non-substantive changes to the town bylaws. As the Bylaw Review Committee was reviewing the town bylaws, we discovered a number of instances of misorganization, format problems, different really non-substantive issues that could easily be fixed without changing the meaning of any provisions of the bylaws, and learned from our former clerk, Deb Graybo, that when she was in her former position, she had the authority to make changes to rectify these issues. And so we would recommend that that we bring to town meeting a provision that would allow our clerk to do the same.
Thank you. Any questions on that one, Mr. Slavin, Mr. Chadwick?
No.
None.
Ms. Quirk, would you move on to the second one?
Second one is numbered S14. This has to do with the packet of changes to the town bylaws. The Bylaw Review Committee, as I said, has been reviewing the town bylaws and has discovered that a number of the provisions have been overtaken or superseded by state law. And so we identified a number of these provisions and would propose to take these to town meeting for to be deleted from the bylaws because they are no longer needed, either because they've been superseded or otherwise covered by state law.
Excellent. Any questions, Mr. Slavin, Mr. Chadwick?
No.
No.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We previously, I believe, had taken votes to recommend favorable action. So thank you very much for the work that you did on that. And good
Thank you.
evening.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
how about we hit 6A?
I move for the license and permits renewal of secondhand dealers licenses pending all approvals and required paperwork are in order. as printed in the agenda of items 1 through 14 under 6A.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve pending all approvals from required departments as well as paperwork. Any further discussion on that motion to approve?
I just have one quick question, Judy. Do we have
Yes.
any outstanding people that haven't filed with us on the secondhand licenses that you know of?
Yes,
Yes, okay, thank you.
there were two who had gone out of business, but there's another one who hasn't filed.
Okay,
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion to approve? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
yes,
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
myself, yes, it is so. So
I move-
6B, 6B, please, Mr. Chadwick.
Yep. I move for the renewal of pawnbroker's license Gateway Golden Pawn, 261 Main Street, Wareham, subject to receiving all department approvals and required paperwork.
Is there a second to that?
second.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any further discussion on that motion?
Just a quick note for the public. Dominic has moved his pawn shop from one side of the street to the other and has taken over, I think it was the
Old bank.
Thanks.
Standard, one of the banks there.
Santander.
Yeah, Santander Bank. And it's got a nice setup in there now. for people to look.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
And we previously approved the change of address for him.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay, any further discussion on the motion to approve? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes,
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
and myself, yes, it is so. Mr. Chadwick, 6C,
Yes,
please.
I move for the renewal of the fortune teller permit for Christina Lisa Burbank with a term to expire of December 31st, 2024.
second.
Motion made and seconded. All of the paperwork is in order. She has paid the $2 fee. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes,
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Excuse me, it is so. Doreen Allen, England, would you raise your hand, please? And Mr. Noah Sullivan, would you let her into the meeting, please? Thank you. Discussion and possible vote on annual and special town meeting warrant article recommendations. We need to vote on S12, which is the sewer #1 Wareham Pollution Control Facility, aeration blowers and vehicles. May I have a motion? We didn't do that one yet.
I move for favorable action. So moved. I'm sorry. I don't have that one in
Yeah,
front of me.
that's okay. Is there a second to that motion?
second.
Motion made and seconded to approve, to recommend favorable action on S12 sewer #1 Wareham Pollution Control Facility, aeration blowers and vehicles. We were waiting for the figures before. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, we'll go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes,
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
and myself, yes, it is so. Mr. Raymond, would you raise your hand, please? And Mr. Noah Sullivan, would you let him in? Mr. Joseph Raymond, would you raise your hand, please? Next, we need to be able to, D, Mr. Chadwick, if you would read that motion, please.
Yes. I move for the release of executive session meeting minutes of March 26, 2024, and the agreement between WCTV and the select board.
second.
Motion made and seconded to release the minutes which were previously approved. Is there any further discussion on the release of those minutes? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes,
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
and myself, yes, it is so. Noah Sullivan, I still see Mr. Raymond with his hand up. Could you please let him into the meeting? Now that we've done that, I'd like to bring you up to date on the agreement, the draft agreement, which we saw last week. And I would like to be able to send that draft agreement, which is a letter agreement, to WCTV tonight or tomorrow and be able to discuss it with them So that the funding at the town meeting, there's no hang up about that at all. Remember, they get the PEG access. And Mr. Fahrenkopf, would you raise your hand as well, please? Is there any further is there any question about that?
No.
No.
No? Okay. May I have a motion, please, to authorize me to send the letter agreement to WCTV for approval?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
made, okay, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
and myself, yes, it is so. Is there any other business to come before this meeting before we go into executive session? Okay, we will be just adjourning from the executive session. I don't see the town administrator here with us, so we will not be able to have his report because I don't want it in executive session. It needs to be in public session. So Mr. Raymond, Mr. Fahrenkopf, and Miss Allen England are going to be staying with us, as is Mr. Bowen, Mr. Chadwick, myself, and Mr. Slavin. Anybody else that you're expecting, Miss Allen England? Other than maybe Mr. Sullivan, Derek Sullivan?
I don't think so. I'm going to ask Joe. Is there anybody else?
No, I think we have Cole here and myself. That should be it.
Okay, great. So I'm going to ask for a motion for a 5-minute recess, but Mr. Chadwick, you're going to have to read the reasons that we're going to go into executive session. Do you have them in front of you, sir?
Yes. You want me to do the recess first or?
No, you need to read that
All right.
first. Yep.
Yep. I move to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. If discussion in open session may have a detrimental effect on bargaining positions of the public body, and if the chair so declares. 1, Wareham Public Employees Union 1249 of Labor's International Union of North America, Wareham Wastewater Treatment Plant Operations. 2, Wareham Public Employees Union 1249 of Labor's International Union of North America, 4-persons union. B, MGL 3021, reason 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if discussed in open session may have a detrimental effect of litigation positions of the public body, and if the chair so declares.
I declare that both of those reasons, for both of those, the 2 union contracts as well as the lawsuit, need to be in executive session. Any further discussion on Mr. Chadwick's motion? Yes, Mr. Slavin.
I think I heard wrong, maybe not. On the number 1, it was plant operators, not plant organization.
I
Plant
said,
operators, yeah.
I said plant operators.
No,
No?
no.
It's on the agenda correctly. Is there
I'm
any
sorry.
further discussion to go into executive session?
Edit plant operators.
Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
and myself, yes. We will be going into executive session. We will be taking a 5-minute recess. Mr. Raymond, Mr. Fahrenkopf, and Miss Allen England, please stay where you are, okay?
Madam
5
Chairman,
minutes,
We
7.
will also not be coming into a regular session.
Yes,
after.
I already said that. We will not be coming back into open session, so we will be reconvening at 7:28. Reconvening or going back into the executive session.
Thank you.
Thank you.